Welcome back to another episode of Lounge 11 with Femi and Samco. My name is Femi. I'm here with my co-host and my brother Samco for yet another exciting episode of Talking Football. Samco, how are you doing today, man?
Good, man. It's a good week. I ain't even gonna lie. I feel good. I feel
I
great.
feel fantastic.
Yep.
I
It's a
feel
good week,
fantastic.
man. Yeah.
When we show up like this and we're all giggity, I think people know that it's been a good week.
It's been good.
So I can't
No
really complain.
complaints. Yeah.
But the agenda that I have today is actually quite interesting. During the Champions League game yesterday, we got sorry, was it yesterday? Two days ago, I
Yes. Yesterday,
believe.
Tuesday. Yeah.
Yeah, we got some really
Tuesday.
interesting news. Yeah, we got some
Yeah.
really interesting news from
Yeah.
Africa. So that's probably where we start. Let's start with CAF.
Yeah.
I think just as Arsenal were wrapping up their game, we heard the news break. And actually, I want to shout out to, I don't know who posted it on our No Fly Zone group, so I just want to apologize to him because I know when he
Yeah. I
had
can't
posted
remember the
that,
name.
yeah, I don't remember who it was, but someone had posted that,
Yeah.
Morocco they had appealed and the CAF had already basically made a decision to strip Senegal. At the time, it wasn't official yet, so it was just like
No.
rumors. And
Yeah.
I checked Grok. I just went on Grok and
Mm-hmm.
asked, "Is this true?" And it said no. So I guess
Yeah.
AI is not really taking our jobs, And I and I said to that guy that we should be more conscious, which I
Mm-hmm.
believe, by the way, to be true, that we shouldn't be spreading false news and just do some background check. But it ended up being true because just a few minutes after the news broke, so he was right in the sense that CAF had made the decision to strip Senegal off the title and award it back to Morocco. So,
Yeah.
but that aside, right? That was such a crazy news to break at the time. Like I couldn't believe what I just read. So
Yeah.
I'll give you the chance to give your own thoughts on, what you felt when you saw that.
It was just like you said when actually I just checked, his name was David who posted it. And
Shout out David. Shout out David.
yeah, shout out to David. I know when I saw it, I was like, my first reaction was like, what? I was like, okay, then you responded and I'm like, okay, yeah, so there's nothing official about it, right? Because it also sounded
Yeah.
crazy. Let's be
It
honest. I think
sounded
that
really
was,
ridiculous.
yeah, it
Yeah.
sounded very crazy. That's why we all had that type of reaction, right? And then a
Right.
few minutes later, we see the likes of Fabrizio actually tweeting it and saying, oh, wow, it's actually true. And I just remember just shaking my head, and it's just like, why always us, right? Like, we've done so much work in building football back in Africa and trying to make it one of those, like, especially the African Cup of Nations, one of those tournaments where the whole world gets to see us showcase our own talent and our own culture in terms of football. And we've spoken about what happened in that final a few episodes ago, and to see them drag us back into that moment was just, I think it was very embarrassing for CAF as a whole, as an organization, right? Because we've had the likes of like Jimmy Carragher and other like big pundits who have tried to put down African football, the Nations Cup and its talent. And you literally are almost giving into that and giving those people more excuses to say, this is why we say what we say about African football, right? I've been of the opinion that I don't know if I'm right, so I don't think anyone should like or just take whatever it's saying with a pinch of salt, because it's just my own opinion. I feel CAF have just been put into a tight corner by Morocco. And and the reason I say that is because I know Morocco has been one of those countries who have bailed out CAF in a few situations in terms of like hosting events. When,
Mm-hmm.
for example, CAF might want to do some sports event in Togo, and at the dying minute, Togo comes back and say, hey, we're not really ready to host this event. And Morocco has always been there for CAF to come out and say, you know what, we'll take care of this for you. Right after the African Nations Cup in January, for those who follow a little bit into women's football, they would know that Morocco actually cancelled their rights to host the African Women's Nations Cup, right? And definitely you could know that was in retaliation to what happened in the final, because it literally made no sense. And today you're coming back as an organization and saying you are going to strip those title off Senegal and give it back to Morocco. There was already all types of accusations that happened during the tournament that things were being in the favor of Morocco. Then we see what happens in the final. The players walk off the pitch, they come back, the referee is still on the pitch, they play the penalty, they go into extra time. We don't get no, if you even think about it, at no point was forfeit being talked about during that final, even when the players were walking out. And then 2, 3 months down the line, this is what you're coming back with. It's just an utter, it's ridiculous by CAF. And I think Senegal will be putting some type of appeal. I think they're taking it to the sports court, and I hope those people actually do uphold like the integrity of African football, even if the guys in charge of Dutch football don't want to uphold that integrity, right? So it was really embarrassing to read those and see how people were talking about it in the media and all around the world. And I just hope they just get their act together, because what makes these are the kind of things that also destroy future of African football in its own entirety.
Hmm.
So hopefully we get some much better news. And I'm sorry, shame to Morocco, man. Like, I actually enjoy watching them play football, but to see where they've dragged this situation to, is a little bit embarrassing. But we'll see. How what was your take when you saw it?
I mean, I think I messaged, you and we're in some of the same groups. And
Yeah.
again, my initial reaction, and again, apologies to David on No Fly Zone. I
Mm.
thought it was crazy that it was so crazy there had to be misinformation. And that's
Mm-hmm.
why I responded the way I did, where it's like, hey, because obviously trusting Grok more than we should.
Mm-hmm.
And Grok at the time, because it wasn't public
It
yet.
was,
Like, it
yeah,
wasn't
because it was even few minutes after that that
after
Fabrizio
that.
actually tweeted it. Yeah.
Correct. Right.
Yeah.
So at the time, it wasn't public. So Grok, I guess, was correct in the fact that it wasn't news at the time,
Mm-hmm.
or
Yeah.
correct at the time. But that's how crazy it sounded to me, that there is no way, what is it, 70 days or 70 plus days after the final has been decided. And I think the
Mm-hmm.
first thing that came to my mind, and I shared it on the group chat that we're on, is what game was forfeited, right? Because Morocco can make the argument that there was a forfeit if you continue to play the game, right? It is
Mm-hmm.
implied that you participated in the game after the fact that the players walked off the pitch, because they did come back. You did play a penalty. You missed it. You agreed to go to extra time. You played extra time. You lost the game in extra time. So I couldn't understand what was forfeited in that situation, and I think CAF has really, really played themselves in this one, because I laid out the case for Senegal to go to the court of arbitration,
Yeah.
and I think they'll win pretty easily. They'll get that
Yeah.
tossed out pretty easily,
Very
because
easy.
the role of
Yeah.
the referee in this case has to be examined. The referee,
Mm-hmm.
as far as I understand it, has the final say on the proceedings in the game. And he blew the whistle for the penalty. He blew the whistle for the extra time to kick off, both first half and second half and final whistle. So by
Yeah.
all accounts and intent, the referee brought the game to the natural conclusion of the game. So I couldn't understand I don't understand the case Morocco has here. And like I said, I fully expect that Senegal win. It doesn't cover anybody
Mm-hmm.
in great light. I think Senegal, obviously, in the time I shared how critical I was of the behavior, but we've moved past that. The game came to its natural conclusion. They won. Congrats to them. And to do anything else outside of that, outside the pitch, is just an embarrassment, both
Yeah.
for Morocco and for the governing body CAF in this case. It doesn't
Yeah.
help to put Africa in a good light. So I wish Senegal all the best. I think they're going to win this pretty easily in the court of arbitration.
Yeah.
And I think they'll restore themselves as the rightful winners of the Nations Cup.
Yeah. Nothing
Okay.
less.
Yeah, I mean, we'll leave it there. Maybe we'll jump into the weekend round of games that happened last weekend. That was a very pivotal point
Yeah, it's a
it
big.
felt like a pivotal point in the league. One, because Arsenal played and we won, which we'll get to shortly. And then following that, Man City played actually right after,
Right
and
after
they dropped points, right? Was it against, what did they even play against?
West Ham.
West Ham. Yeah. Oh
Yeah,
yeah, because we talked about that. I
yeah,
think those were the two biggest games, and then obviously Chelsea losing at home to Newcastle. Those were the biggest games. Let's start with Chelsea so we get it out of the way. You've seen a lot of the noise that has come out of that camp, and
yeah.
did you see?
Mhm.
Did you see the referee standing in the middle of the huddle on the
Yeah,
weekend?
I saw that. That was actually that was actually funny. And when I saw that,
Yeah,
the first thing that came to my mind was like, okay, you guys can't tell me that you know you are being watched all around the world, right? So at that moment, why can't you just take your hurdles somewhere else? Like you've leading to that very week, people have spoken about this hurdle 2 game week straight. And now you have a ref right in the middle of you and you still go ahead to do that. Like, do you think people will still not talk about it? Mind you, you're in a team, you're literally playing and you haven't had the greatest form lately. I think the only win they've had in their last 4 to 5 games was the one against Wrexham in the FA Cup, right?
really? Oh,
I
Chelsea.
think so. I think so. I think
Oh
that's the only game they've won in like,
no, they beat Aston Villa recently,
oh yeah,
didn't
sorry,
they?
that's true. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, they did. They beat Aston Villa just before that. Yeah, that's true. You're right. So it's like, why are you giving the media more reason to bring that spotlight towards you, right? And it was funny to see, it was funny to watch. But guess what? At the end of the game, you ended up losing that game in a very silly, stupid way. So it's like all this, you just keep giving us all this ammunition to come at you guys for and wait in the situation that you found yourself. But speaking about the game itself, I didn't watch the game. I haven't had the opportunity to watch the game. All I saw was the highlights and the goal that led to the W for Newcastle. And I remember watching the highlight and I still could not believe my eye. Like that was a goal that Chelsea conceded because
Yeah,
it was just one ball through the middle. And if you see the
and that
space in
was
between
it.
both center
Yep.
backs, it was so wide that you think they're playing some high school kids or something. And mind you, Willock is not the fastest player. He's not
He
the
just broke
fastest, but
the he just broke
he
the
literally
trap or
just,
whatever it was
yeah.
that they were trying to do. Yeah.
And it was so ridiculous to see that that's literally how Chelsea lost that game. And we've always said these things before, like the Premier League is a league with tight margins, right? Like you just lose a little bit of concentration and it costs you a lot. And I think that's another game that Chelsea can look back and almost ask themselves, like, how do they lose that game? But that was how you lost that game, just because of a lapse in concentration. Look at the tiniest detail. This ball was literally played from Newcastle's half, not even the midway line of the pitch. It's like, I can't remember the exact play, but it just looked like the goalkeeper passed it to one of the
It was too
defenders
easy. It
or
was
the
too easy.
defensive midfielder.
Yeah.
And the next thing, the ball, Willock is literally one on one with the
Right.
goalkeeper. The ball was not
Right.
put, it wasn't a long ball. It was literally on the floor. So yeah, I didn't watch the game, so I can't give more than what I saw in terms of the highlights.
I didn't see it either. So it's funny because I had the game. Arsenal was playing around the same time,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So
yeah.
actually at the same time. So I was watching that on TV, and I turned on the Chelsea game on my iPad. But honestly, I was so locked into the Arsenal
The
game
Arsenal game,
because
yeah.
it was close until the 80th minute or something like
Mm-hmm.
that. But I looked over because obviously our chats is going off, and you can see that Chelsea had conceded, and I saw the goal when it happened, the replays and stuff. I was like, oh, that's easy.
So easy.
And but I think what was interesting to me about that particular game and the goal was some of the comments that, again, Liam, who has been in the news talking a lot, he had mentioned that the reason that goal happened was because they were trying a new pressing technique that basically never been seen before. That those were his comments, believe it or not. Did you see that?
No, no.
Yeah, that's what he said.
I didn't say that, no.
No, literally, you need to go check it out. That's what he
Oh
said. It's
man.
like, I was like, bro, 20, you're in match day 30, I think it is, or whatever, 29 or 30 for Chelsea. You are tasked with getting into the Champions League. You had just lost
Mm,
the first leg.
to
What was it?
PSG.
5-2 to PSG.
Yeah.
It was always unlikely that you were going to come back from that. So you're gambling the future of the club really on new pressing techniques is kind of what he was trying to do.
Yeah.
At least that's what he said. And so I just thought that was really interesting. And ultimately they lost the game and now they're in a very precarious position. Like they
Yes.
they are actually really in a position where they might not make Europe.
Yes, I'm beginning to also buy into that train as well. That I don't think they make the Champions League because, like, when they hired him, I remember a lot of people said he was winning. Like, I remember the games against Brentford. I felt they were not the best team. They won that game 2-0. How they won that game, I did not know. And I have seen a few of the Chelsea games since they came in, and I haven't been impressed, right? It's one thing to play some certain level of teams in the Premier League. You always have to, there's so much context in a lot of the Premier League games, right? Like, you also have to look at where teams are, what it is they're fighting for, and stuff like that. And I really haven't been impressed with him. I remember the game against Wrexham. Wrexham were the better team, in my opinion, right? The game previous to that of Newcastle was against Chelsea. I'm sorry, was against PSG. Yes, the game was more like a table tennis match going back and forth, but you could see the team that was a little bit, not even a little bit, that was way better and just had like more quality players. Like, I've seen him play 3 times against Arsenal, and I saw the way they played, and I was like, what is it about this guy that you guys have seen that you all seem very convinced that he's going to lead you guys back to the Champions League, right? If there's one thing about the Champions League race that I always say is all the teams in the Champions League race are very inconsistent, right? But Manchester United is one club that's having, or they're looking to, not they're looking, they're already proving that statement I've made a little bit wrong to me because they seem to have a little bit of consistency, right? They've lost only one game and I think maybe drawn one or two since Carrick came in. We've seen the likes of Liverpool go back and forth. Villa have dropped silly points as well. But if you look at the games that Chelsea have played that would have enabled or given them much better situations in terms of this top four race, they've had the likes of Leeds and Burnley at home where they were winning and they drew those games. They've played us that they lost. Fine, they beat Villa. They've played Newcastle at home that they lost. Mind you, that of Leeds and Burnley were played at their home as well. And they still didn't pick up those maximum points. So if you're playing Leeds and Burnley at home in a top four race and you can't pick up your maximum points, if you look at their schedule, they say have the likes of Manchester United, they say have the likes of Liverpool, they say have the likes of Man City to play. I think they might say even have Spurs to play who are fighting relegation. You are really, really in a tricky situation, which is the same place you found yourself last season, right? So I'm really beginning to see that Champions League, you really might not be there. And what they did in the summer with the Club World Cup has really put a lot of blinders in a lot of people's eyes, including myself, especially at the beginning of the season. And I said, no, I'm not doing that anymore. Like, just watch these guys for who and what they are, and you definitely do
Yeah,
see it.
yeah.
Yes, they do have some quality players. You can't deny that, right? They do have some quality players. But we also have to say those quality players have also not been to the standard that is expected for their club and in a top four race. So they are definitely going to find it really, really hard. I mean, it's good for them now that they've been bowed out of the Champions League. So I don't know if those less games will help them and we'll see a different type of Chelsea. But I'm looking forward to it. But they're in a very, very dangerous position of likelihood of not making those spots or those top five spots.
Uh, Final comments. I don't even know. Maybe we'll just talk about Champions League. But one thing I wanted to touch on with Liam just before we move on from the weekend's game for Chelsea. He had made the comments in one of the pressers before, the game and talked
Mm-hmm.
about how if you just look at the time that has been there, they're third in the league, which I thought was
Oh,
kind
yeah, I saw
of
that. Yeah, I saw that.
silly, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because like at the end of the day, you're still sixth, whether you're only isolating the time
But when he
they've
said
been
third
there.
in the league, was that actually true? Were those stats right? That he
Probably, I
was
don't know, because I think what he was trying to call out, I don't know actually. I actually can't
because
tell.
I'm trying to look at his results in the time
And
he
put it
has come
against
and put it
United, and
against
put it against
United,
Arsenal
City,
and Manchester
Arsenal.
City. Yeah,
Exactly. And I'm trying to understand, like,
it's a
has
tough
he
one
really
to
been
buy.
third? Yeah, it's a tough one to buy.
But
Yeah.
does it matter? Is kind of what I'm trying to get at.
Okay. No.
No, does it matter? I don't think it
No.
matters.
It doesn't. Yeah.
And I'll tell you the reason I don't think it matters, right? I don't remember. I looked at this maybe last week or so when I heard that comment. I think it was hired in January, and then his
Mm-hmm.
first game was on the 10th. And
Mm.
if you go back, I think that must have been match day 21 or something like that. I can't
Mm-hmm.
remember, to be
His
fair.
first Premier
Uh,
League game was Brentford, I remember. But his
was
very
Brentford?
first
Okay.
game, yeah, his very first game was, I think it was was an FA Cup game, I think. I
Yes,
can't
first
remember.
game was an FA Cup game. I'm saying the league
Yeah.
game. I wanted to
I
see
think
the
his first league
position.
game was Brentford,
It
2-0.
was Brentford. So that,
Yes.
yeah, January 17th. So that is
Yeah.
match day 22.
He
Let
won
me tell
2-0.
you where Chelsea were match day 22, right?
Okay.
In
Yeah.
match day 22,
Mm-hmm.
Chelsea were sixth. They were sixth and they were 16
I know this.
points. They were 16 points off number one, Arsenal. As of today,
Mm-hmm.
Chelsea is sixth and they are 22 points off the top of the table. And so
And
when
in
you,
that time, Manchester United was definitely behind Chelsea.
yes, right? So I'm like, does it matter if you
It
were
doesn't matter.
third in
Yeah.
that time? Because basically you've actually lost ground if you step out
Mm-hmm.
and look at the big picture. So
Yeah.
I think that the comments that this guy is making is coming to bite him. I don't know if
Mm-hmm.
you've seen some of our guys are starting to turn on this guy, but even more so, you go on the internet, Twitter, X, or whatever they call it now, and you see everyone is like, hey, they might need to get this guy out of here, right? So I think what we have been saying for a long time, where it's like all this comments, you're going to have to deal with it at some point. I think we're there where people are starting
Mm-hmm.
to look at some of those things as silly, respecting the ball. And I think his comments at the end of it came out to say that it said that people were making a big deal or too much of a big deal
You of all
out of
people
the.
making a
I was
big
like,
deal. Can you imagine?
dude, man, yeah, that is kind of
Yeah.
rich coming from you,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But let's put Chelsea on the back burner for now. We'll touch on them when we get back into the Champions League discussions.
Mm-hmm.
We'll start with Arsenal.
Yeah.
Arsenal, we played Everton at home. It was good to be back home at the Emirates after so many games away,
Mm.
and it was looking like a very tight game. I
Yes.
actually thought that, it was looking scary. No, it wasn't scary, but they had some
Yeah.
chances. They had some near misses here and there. I don't remember. I don't know
Yeah,
if
in
you
the
remember
first
in
half.
Dyer's
Yes.
rebound that came off of
Mm-hmm.
him. Those are the kind of
Yeah.
things that could have changed the context of that game. And
Yeah.
Ricardo Calafiori put together a block that I've never seen in my life. They're calling it
Yeah.
a Scorpio block. Like
Yeah.
any of those things bounce a little left, a little right, or whatever the case
And
might
to
be, you're
go.
looking at a
Yeah.
totally different story. And so it was cagey at times, right?
Mm.
Until the 80 something, well, the sub that
Yeah.
was made, first of all,
Mm-hmm.
Dowman. I know you called Dowman coming into the game because you shared that with us at the time
Yeah.
as we're watching the game. That was big by Mikel.
That was very big. Yeah.
Jesus was on the bench.
Yeah.
Norgard was not even in the squad.
Scored. Yeah.
And then to make that room for Max Dowman, a 16-year-old kid, to come in
Mm.
and trust him in that moment. And that boy, did he deliver, man?
Mm.
Did he deliver?
Yeah.
First came in, put in the cross. I mean, I pretty much made that first goal because the ball
Yeah.
just bounced off of Incapié into Gyökeres for the goal. And then the second goal, like, I don't know how many times you watched it. I watched that goal like
So many times. I've seen it at
dozens
least
of
4 times
times.
today for sure.
Yeah, dozens of
Yeah.
times. But let's talk about that game, your thoughts on the
Mhm.
game, and then obviously Dalman's
Yeah.
contributions.
Yeah, first thing, like you said, like it was really good, and I was really happy to get back to the Emirates, right? And yeah, the game started very cagey. Everton had those two opportunities from Ndaye literally in the first half. But to be honest, when I went back and watched the game, Everton weren't really good as well, right? But I think it also comes down to the way that we are a team that minimizes the chances that our opponents are
Other
able to
teams
get
get
against us, right?
right.
So a lot of the times when you watch those games as it's happening, you don't see it in that light. And that's one of the reasons I like going back to watch the game, especially in the second half. I think we were much better in the second half, right? The likes of Eze really like stood up. Trossard, they were just really trying to go in for that game. But like you said, we have to give the big credit to Mikel because a game that is 0-0, the implications of what is going to happen if that result stays the same way. You have a seasoned Premier League player like Gabriel Jesus, who is also an attacking player on your bench, but you decide to look back and you say, I'm going to bring on a 16-year-old to change it. And it was funny because even before he brought him on, when I looked at our bench, he was the first person I felt could change the game.
You said that.
And
You said that.
yeah, he's literally the first person. And it's because I've made it known before. Like I watch a lot of our academy games and stuff like that. And last season when I watched him, every time I watch him in the academy, I keep saying it. I'm like, this guy is just levels above the rest when he plays. Like every time it's like he's playing a level down. And the only next level for him is
Just to
literally the
go up.
Premier League. Yeah.
Right.
So I was really happy when we took him for the preseason during the summer because I was like, I think this guy needs to be part of this team. But the one thing I've noticed about him every time he's played with the senior guys is he's very fearless. And you should expect that from a lot of these young players because they see it as an opportunity for them to
To
showcase
show
their
themselves.
talent,
Yeah.
right? Look at the Rio guy in Liverpool. Every time he comes in on the pitch for Liverpool, look at the way he plays. He takes on his opposition. This guy is still a teenager as well. Look at Waneri and Skelly when they came into the fold last season. They always took their opportunity. They are very fearless. And a lot of these opponents don't really know exactly what the player is all about. If you remember during the preseason when we played Newcastle, I don't know if you remember what Dorman did
Of
to the
course.
likes of Joel Linton. And
Joel
even
Linton,
Joel
he left
Linton
them.
came out
Yeah.
and said, like, who is this kid? So
Yeah.
literally I looked at the bench and I said, I think we need this guy's energy and just to be able to take on players because we were a little bit stagnant, but you could see we were pushing on and on. And I felt like we were going to still win that game regardless, right? He came in, he was literally a breath of fresh air. He was direct, he was fearless, he was confident. When he put in that cross, think about it. There are a lot of the times we've seen the likes of Saka, Noni put in that same cross, right? And it doesn't really bring anything that we're really looking for. But he literally put that cross on the money that even Pickford thought he could get that cross the minute because he went for the ball and the ball
And he
just
missed
went
it.
past him.
He
Yeah,
missed
and he
it.
missed
Yeah.
it. But then again, I was glad to see Gyökeres at the end of that ball. Reason why is because look at the strikers or look at the moments we've had in the last few seasons, especially the last season and this season, when we've had the likes of Jesus, Merino, and Kai Havertz, we've had balls like that sometimes, and none of them are in those positions. None of them are literally in those positions. So it was good for us to get that game, and I thought the game was done, and then go towards the extra time. They get a corner
That
kick.
was
You see
magical.
Pickford
Yeah.
coming up, and I'm just like, and recently, Everton has also been one of those teams who are very dubious with their own set pieces as well. So I definitely wasn't comfortable at that point because I'm just
I
like,
wasn't. I'm not gonna lie.
I don't want this to be one of those moments where we're
Aston
literally drawing a
Villa,
game again.
Sunderland,
Exactly,
or
the Aston
whatever.
Villas and everything.
The
But
Wolves.
ball goes into the box. Eucharist is the guy that hits it out. Martinelli tries to head it out back again to Damon. When he beats the first player, the first thing I thought he was going to do, because I think Martinelli was the guy running
Was
on his
laid
right
off.
hand side,
Yeah.
I thought he was going to lay it off. This young kid says
Skimmed.
no. He
Skimmed.
literally, and I think it was Drisby Hall that he and what's funny is that you would think he actually like took the ball away from Dewsbury. It was literally his body movement.
Yeah.
It was literally his body movement. And then he was just straight on goal. And if you look around the stadium, the minute he did that, the entire stadium
Everybody knew.
stood up.
Everybody knew.
Everybody stood up.
I
And it
remember
was
having
just
goosebumps just thinking
like,
about it again.
I just loved the fact to see how the bench ran towards him. Like, we're not even talking about like the young academy players that were on the bench. We're talking about the Ben
The
White,
senior players, everybody.
senior player. Everybody ran towards him to just like embrace him and stuff like that. And I think it's one of those moments for people who were in the stadium. They'll look back and they say we were there. It
I was
reminded me a
there.
lot
I was
of
there. Yeah.
when we played Bournemouth and
Chris Nelson.
Bruce Nelson had that ridiculous goal at the dying minute. And it's one of those things that if we're able to capture the league that we've been waiting for so many years, we will remember that very moment. Like we will
Correct.
literally remember. That's a 16-year-old who can come out and say, I played my role or I played my part in ensuring my club won the Premier League. So I was very, very excited and happy for the kid. I hope that brings more confidence into him. He seems to be a very humble kid. You don't really hear much about him and stuff. And I just hope the club continues to protect him. There was something else that I really liked that happened after the game. I don't know if you noticed it. Moments like that, the media usually we ask for an interview with that player. And I
Yeah,
was so
no.
happy I saw him nowhere near any of the cameras. Like
Oh yeah,
literally,
Arsenal is
he
different.
did it exactly. Like he literally scored the goal and he literally just walked down the tunnel. You see, when Andrea Beta gave him a high five, he just walked down. They even had to give his man of the match plaque to Gyökeres to give it to. I really did like that part because I think he's one that is very young. We need to protect him and just keep building his
Mm.
confidence. He's 16. Like he has so much in front of him. So that was literally my take. Really, really proud of the boys on that day.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, as far as the game, I don't think there's too much to add to that. But that moment is for sure such a special moment. I think, you know, I don't know what other fans feel, but I feel like even if I wasn't a fan, that was still a special thing to see. Maybe if you're
Yes.
not if you're an Everton fan, you feel differently. But
Yeah.
just to see a kid, who's obviously a fan of the club, who has grown up in the club, to score for the club and share that moment with the fans. Like I don't know, like there's frames that I still remember in the
Yeah.
celebration. There's a moment where it feels like I just scored, but then he looks back and he sees his teammates, all the senior pros, chasing him down to the
Chasing
corner
him
flag, and
down.
his hair is
Yeah.
flying and he's
Yeah.
excited. And oh man, that's such a special thing. And I, really
Yeah.
happy that he got to experience that and we all got to
Yeah.
experience that with him and for him.
Yeah.
So, I also like that the club is keeping him grounded, protecting him.
Yeah.
I like that he had not one single minute involvement in the Champions League game after that, because
Mm-hmm.
those are the kind of things that start to build unnecessary expectations.
Expectations, yeah.
So they managed
Yeah.
that properly, and fair play to Arsenal, fair play to Mikel, but all
Yeah.
credit goes to Dowman, who put himself in that position to do
Yeah.
that. So congrats to
Yeah.
him.
Yeah.
That game had ramifications because obviously we went from potentially drawing the game to collecting all 3 points, and then we
Mm.
could finally sit down and watch Man City, after the fact, essentially drop points, right? We had
Yeah.
predicted that they were going to drop points, and they did against West Ham away. Ex Arsenal player, I don't know how to say his name, so I don't want to butcher it.
Mavropanos.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we sent a Trojan horse to go do the damn thing, and he scored a set piece.
Yeah.
He did it with a set piece.
Yeah.
But on a more serious note, right? That's 2 points drop for Man City. I'm sure that they wouldn't feel very great about that in the title
Mm.
push. Did you see that game at all? And what were your thoughts on
Yes.
on the game?
To be honest, just like I expected, right? We spoke about it last episode and we said we think West Ham were going to get something from the game. I didn't think West Ham were going to win. If you've seen West Ham's last few games, especially at home, I knew they definitely had the opportunity and the chances of getting something from the game. They were very good as well, but at the same time, I won't watch that game and say Man City were no good, right? I think this is just the part of football where there's a little when you see the amount of games everybody is playing and what exactly they are fighting for. Playing a relegation team at this time of the season, believe me, those are one of those teams you don't want to play because
Yeah.
they would grind out any
They are
results.
fighting for
They
everything,
are
man.
literally fighting, right?
They are scrapping
And
and fighting.
like I said, shout out to West Ham. Like I've always maintained this narrative. I've said I believe London is going to bring bring the title back to London. Like a lot of these London clubs are going to do their own part in bringing it down to London. So big shout out to them. But yeah, it was a good game to be honest. And I think both teams, I think they got what they deserved. And then you can't come out of that game and say West Ham didn't deserve a draw,
I
right?
think
At the
so
same
too.
time, you
Yeah.
can't come out and say Man City deserved to lose that game as well. They had opportunity even at the dying minute. Gay had
Ooh,
a very nice sitter that
I
he missed and he
remember
skied
that.
it over the bar. So those are the things that are like, and that has happened to Man
Man,
City
that's 2 games in a row
two
now.
games. Remember against Forest, it was the same
Forest,
thing.
yeah.
Dying minute, someone just clears it off the line. So
Ooh.
they definitely consider themselves unlucky, but I mean, we we needed those type of results, and we've gone through our own tough times when we've drawn a few games, and I think this was just that of Man City's as well. Yeah,
Right, right, right. Obviously, you see a lot of Arsenal fans immediately get excited, as we all should, right? Like it makes our lives just a little bit easier. But there's also the overreaction that the league is
Mm-hmm.
done.
Right.
I personally think that there's still plenty to play for. I've
Um,
seen a lot of league title
it's
races
the
in my
Premier League,
life.
man. Exactly.
There's what, 7 games or 8 games, however many games left for us,
Yeah.
7. So there's still 21 points on the board, right?
Yeah.
And it's only a 9 point lead. So
Yeah.
things can change. But do you think the league is done?
No, definitely not. Like I said, we've seen so many league titles won on the last day, not to even say you have 7 to 8 games to go, right? Like both sides definitely still have a chance of winning the title, but we are in the driving seat, right? I've always been of the opinion of points in the board are much more better than points that you're hoping to get or points in hand. Yes, Man City do have a game in hand, but we just have to keep winning, right? At this point, I think we've also got into the situation where as long as we match the Man City results that they play in their games, we definitely still win the league. I've looked at our next few games that we have. I'm happy we play before them as well. Because if you remember a few weeks ago, they played their games before us, which they were definitely pushing the pressure towards us. Luckily for us, we were able to win those games as well.
Right.
Now we've had the schedule in a little bit in our favor where we get to play first and we get to be the one to push the pressure towards that of Manchester City. Like I've said this season, if there's one thing I've noticed about this team, this manager is we've definitely improved or grown in our maturity. And I see the way we handle games and see the way even in situations where there's a little bit of pressure, the Everton game being one of those. There's no panic. There's no throwing, just throwing everything at it because you want to just win a game. We still stick to our plans and our beliefs and how we want to play. So in terms of the title race, it is definitely not over. I'm not getting excited over anything. Um, Maybe I'll start looking at things a little bit different after the Manchester City game because I think we still have a game or 2 games
I think,
before that of
yeah, I think
Manchester
it's,
City. It might even
we
be a
play
game actually.
Bournemouth, and yeah, I think it's Bournemouth
Yeah, Bournemouth.
then
Yeah, Bournemouth
City.
then Chelsea. Sorry, then City. Yeah, they have.
Yeah.
I think they have Chelsea just before the players and everything. So we just need to focus ourselves, right? Like we've said, the ball is in our court. We control our destiny. We've been in this position before 2022, 2023, and we definitely let it sleep. So I hope and I want to believe, or I do believe that this team have learned away from their mistakes. But those past tragic moments, I think, have also helped us and made us more mature than where we find ourselves today. So we just have to keep winning. So yeah, I'm not of the opinion that the league is done.
Man, until we play our Man City on the 19th, every game is 3-4 days, man. And
We've
then
been doing
after
that. We've been
City,
doing that since, and do you know, since end of November, I think we've had only 1 week where we didn't have a midweek game.
that's crazy. So we
One
just need to
week.
get to that City game,
We just need to
and then
get
we
to
have a
that game.
week in between.
Yeah. We
We have
don't
a
have a
week in
week in
between.
between. No, 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 no.
No, what's happening between City and Newcastle?
Because if we progress, actually, City and Newcastle, we play Sporting, I think.
No, we play Sporting before City
Where is that game? At the Emirates?
at the Emirates. So on the
Yes. So I
15th, we're
think if
playing
we
Sporting.
progress, I think the Champions League might be the following week
That's
after Man
crazy,
City.
man.
I think. I'm not too sure. I think because
No, you
sometimes
gotta be,
they might
yeah,
give
that's
a little bit
crazy.
of break
Yeah.
for the semi-final. So maybe you might be right. Maybe there might be a week, but if not, we will be playing the semi-final in that
No,
week.
that's ridiculous, man. That
Yeah.
is ridiculous.
Yeah.
But yeah, I still think City are in it. I think maybe it's just we've been at it for a few years together with them. You know the quality that they have. You know the manager that they have on that side. They're a team of winners. They've been here. They've done that. I'm sure that they know that they would want to keep Arsenal honest until the rest of the season. So
Mhm.
I fully expect them to keep pushing, and so we're gonna have to do our job and stop and not have to rely on other teams
Yeah.
to do that for us. That's the good thing. We don't need anybody doing
You
the
don't
job
need
for
anybody
us
doing
as
job
long
for
as,
us.
like
Yeah.
you said, we get the better or similar result as City from here on out. We're going to be champions, and so that's what we hope from the team. The last one, I think both of us had predicted that Liverpool were going to annihilate Spurs at Anfield, and Liverpool shit the bed.
Very much so.
Liverpool, they shit the bed, man. Like,
Uh,
they were up 1-0, and it's funny because on the group chats that we're on, I said, just watch this equalizer hit like crack.
it was so obvious. Like it
It
was
was like
literally
you
so
could
obvious
tell it was
watching that
coming.
game. Yeah.
I was like, watch this equalizer hit like crack. And then the next thing you know, boom,
Hmm.
1-1. And that was
Yeah.
it. And
Yeah.
just before that, they had a number of chances to put the game away,
To put the game
on the
away.
break,
Yeah.
and they just
Yeah.
weren't clinical or maximizing the opportunity. Thoughts on that performance from Liverpool and from Spurs?
Yeah. From Liverpool, definitely. I'm sure they're gonna feel so down as they should because I think they found and put themselves in that situation. But you got to give credit to Spurs. And again, like we've said, when you play these teams that are fighting relegation, this is the kind of fight that you need required to get out, right? Relegation is not about
Yeah,
getting 3 points or winning games. It's about grinding out results. And we can't come out and say Spurs didn't come out to grind a result, especially at
they did
Anfield,
just that.
right?
Yeah,
They did exactly that. And what is funny is that that is a very good point for them because a lot of us looked at the schedule and that very game at Anfield was one we all considered 0 points for Spurs. So we definitely have to give them their credit for that. I think the likes of Archie Gray were very, very good on that day. Even Sa, I think Sa was good. But if there's one thing I noticed about that game, it's funny. While I was watching that game, I was also watching it with Doye and Sid. And I remember I kept saying to Sid, I was like, if there's one player that really gives his everything, as much as I don't even like him, but these are the kind of players that they need right now, was Richarlison. And I wasn't surprised he was the one that scored. I literally kept saying it. I'm like, Richarlison is the only one that seems to be fighting. He seems to
man, he
only
was
be the
dogging
one.
it out,
He
bro.
was
Like,
literally dogging it out. And he deserves
yeah,
that goal of everybody on that pitch, right?
yep.
So big credit for them. That's the kind of performance they're going to need, right? Even if I believe if they draw every game for the rest of the season, they survive relegation. Is
You
just
think
that.
so? Is that?
I think so.
Oh,
If they
really?
draw every game I think
Oh,
they
yeah,
survive
because the others are more likely to.
exactly. So that's why I keep
Right.
saying like you don't have to win a game. You just have to grind a result. If they happen to win any game between now and the end of the season, I think that makes them survive the situation.
Mm.
So it will be interesting to see their next game this weekend, which I believe is against Forest, if I'm right. But yeah, that of
Yeah, yeah.
Liverpool, man, they've just been an embarrassment, to be honest. Like, there's no other way for you to put it, right? Because you also have to look at it like, yes, a lot of people are going to come out and say they've had injuries and all. But okay, yes, you've had injuries to who? The likes of Isak. Man, you have Ekitike, right? You have Ekitike, but you are not even playing well. Scoring goals is literally so difficult for them. It's like these days, if they don't have Szoboszlai on the pitch, we don't know how that game is going to go, right? The
Yeah.
likes of Van Dijk haven't really been good this season. I think Van Dijk as well, if you remember the goal, I think he was a little bit very nonchalant about that goal, the way he was escorting the player, all the way up until the ball got up to Richarlison. And it's just like, man, what are you guys doing here, man? Like you guys are you're the champions right now. Yes, you've been out of the race, but man, don't go down the way you're literally going down, right? Luckily for them, Chelsea lost their game and they found themselves still in fifth. I think they were able to even climb the table this weekend
They did. They're above Chelsea right now. Yeah.
based on Chelsea's results. So yeah, it's something they're gonna have to keep doing. I don't know who they play next, but yeah, that was definitely my take on them.
Okay, let's move on to the Champions League. But before we do, and we'll probably start with Chelsea on the Champions League side of things. I don't know if you saw I'm sure you did, the news about Chelsea, the fine that came down
Oh yeah, yeah,
for the charges. What is it, 74 charges?
yeah,
I thought that was a disgrace as far as
yeah,
like the FA, the governing body. They basically got found guilty of
yeah.
making illegal third party payments over the course of Abramovich's time as
Mm,
Chelsea owner. Lots of illegal payments that were made. And they got away with what I consider a slap on the wrist. They got
mm,
was a £10 million fine
yeah.
and a suspended transfer ban, right? Or something like that. What did you make of that? The news when it came out.
Um, I think yes, like you said, is It's an embarrassment to that of the FA, but I've also noticed a lot of people haven't really spoken about Chelsea. Like, let's be truthful when you look at it. That's another Chelsea fans have to feel a certain type of way because your club has literally been caught cheating. Like, this is what we call cheating, right? in in the competitive game that we find ourselves. And if you look at the timeline of the situations that happened, go look at the titles and the trophies that they won in those periods, right? At sometimes when you look back, it makes sense when the likes of Willian were meant to go to Spurs, and the next thing you're hearing is ending up at Chelsea. Remember that of like hazards and stuff, and it's just like, yeah, this is definitely cheating, right? And I'm actually shocked that the FA has given them this slap on the wrist. Some people have said because Chelsea did self-report the
Yeah,
situation. But then again, if you're saying Chelsea self-reported the situation, so what does the governing body do on a season-to-season basis when these things actually happen? When people are submitting their books. But then again, I think if you think back, yeah, definitely the financial like rules that we have in the league today, I don't think they were as strict or as rigid as what they were at that time. So I guess maybe that was much easier for Chelsea to get their way around it. But yeah, Chelsea have just been associated with this type of cheating so many times. Remember the time they had a ban in the transfer window, I think under the times of Frank Lampard when he was the
Frank
manager
Lampard.
and
Yeah,
stuff like that. They've had the one that had to do with Europe, and you're still having another one again. It's like, bro, like, what do you guys keep doing? Even under this new, although this new board, you can't call it cheating because they're just finding their way around in terms of
loopholes.
getting money. Yeah, loophole. So I don't think you might call that cheating because it's still kind of like legal, right? But you having to do what you have done so far, I think is cheating, and they should just yeah, it's I don't know. Maybe because I'm an Arsenal fan, I say it a little bit differently. I've always been of the opinion that whenever, especially in competitive sports, when any competitor is found cheating or doing something wrong, I always feel the book should be thrown at them. We've seen the likes of, I think it was Everton and Leicester and all getting deducted points. But somehow when it has to do with the big clubs, they just get a slap on the wrist and get a fine. And it's like, it's not the same punishment for everybody in the league. How you now upholding the standards of integrity when you're looking at that of the Premier League, right? This is a product that's is seen and consumed by the whole world. There has to be a certain level of standard that is being put across the board. So, yeah, like you said, embarrassing to the FA, but I think that is more of their problem than that of Chelsea's.
There is no part of it that I understand. Self-reporting, not self-reporting. Cheating is cheating, right? And the reason,
It's cheating.
I mean, I can understand the leniency if you were going to give one should have been more in terms of instead of maybe 12, 15 points, for example, you get 10 or whatever the case was. But for them to
Mm-hmm.
only get away with a fine and a suspended ban is ridiculous
Yeah. Because
because
the
Chelsea
suspended bad, what does that mean? If you do
it just
something
means
again,
that, yeah, if you do something again, it will kick in. If you don't, then it's all good. So the point is, you literally have gotten away with getting a clear sporting advantage over the rest of the
yeah,
competition to no consequence, right? Or no major consequence. £10 million to a club like Chelsea is a slap on the wrist. As a matter of fact, there is no financial, except they are thrown like $1 billion or something at them that
yeah,
in my mind would justify that because you benefited from the compounded effect of that cheating scandal because you were able to get those players, you were able to accrue talent over time, which means you were able to get value for those players and then you were able to sell them for a profit subsequently in most cases, right? So there was compounded effect to that cheating that caused an unfair sporting advantage. And
yeah,
so for them to only get away with it, no consequence, I think it sets a really bad precedent that, major clubs they're just going to be governed very differently, especially when you bring in the likes of the Evertons and Leicester that you called up and all of that. So
yeah,
I don't think there was any way to dress this up. It was just egg on the face for the FA. And I think the one thing I will say is it looks like the language suggests that they're not done. And so maybe we just kind of wait and see how it pans out. But just on the letter of what we have seen so far, I think it was bad.
yeah,
All right, let's move into the Champions League in that case, right? And we'll probably just start there with Chelsea. Chelsea lost the first leg. away to PSG. I think it was 5-2. And so they always had a tall task. And I think you and I talked about it here last week that no chance they come back. And
Hmm.
that was quickly done within the first, what is it, 7 minutes or so.
Six
In the
minutes, yeah.
second leg, 6 minutes, yeah. And there was always a tall task after that. I didn't really see the game because, like I said, I thought it was
Oh, I
done.
did.
So I thought my time was best spent
Uh,
watching games that had other things riding on them. So you did see the game. What were your thoughts on that performance from Chelsea?
everything went as I knew it was gonna go. Like literally, I knew they had no chance. If you remember, we had a banter call and Kamzo, shout out to Kamzo, and it was like, yeah, he can see Chelsea winning, but they will lose the tie. And I was like, huh? Like how? Because you're literally 3 goals down. You're going back home that you haven't really been great. For you to even have a chance at the tie, you have to attack with a defense that is not so good against an attack that is very, very. There's one thing people don't know about PSG, right? They have quality attackers that those guys are very reliable. PSG is one of the teams in Europe. Give them 3 chances, they most likely are taking all 3. Like literally, they are one of those teams that they hardly miss their chances and stuff like that. Like they like to outscore their opponents. So I already knew that Chelsea were definitely going to be in for a long day. And what happens? One long ball over the top, and within the 6 minutes, Kvaratskhelia has already gone, and the goal goes in. I'm just like, yeah, the game is done. And the next thing, we're at 2, then we're at 3. And if you even watch the second half, I felt Enrique literally told the PSG players to respect Chelsea a little bit. Like, you're in the house, don't just come out here and just, move all mad and lose your home training. Like, you're at someone's house, like, give them a little bit of respect. But the game went exactly as I expected it to go. When I saw the lineup of Liam, I was a little bit shocked because I was trying to understand, was this a back four? Was it a back three? I think he tried to play a back three a lot of the time, but again, not against this team. And I've been one to say their midfield and their attacking options haven't really been in or shown a great light lately. And the game went exactly how I expected it to go. So, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't really see the game. I did see some of the post-match comments and stuff, or at least
Yeah.
just like the discussions that went on. And I think the one that I found funny was when Ganacho was coming on, and I think he wrote something on a piece of paper
Yeah.
to like instructions, and people were like, "Why is this guy? It's done. It's down. You're down. What is it? 8-2 at the time. What are you trying to pass on to the game? Did you
Yeah.
see that?"
Um, no, I didn't see that part of it because if you notice lately, you are the one that that you get more of this. You take your pride in finding most of those. So
Oh,
I can't,
Liam, yeah,
yeah. So definitely, I
yeah.
didn't see that part, but
I have a lot of bandwidth for
yeah, you do.
Slot and Liam at the moment.
Yeah,
But yeah, so that brings to the end of Chelsea's campaign in the Champions League this season, and they were not alone. A lot of the English teams also suffered similar fate.
yeah.
So we'll move on to Manchester City, who played Real Madrid at home. You had said last week that if any team was capable of coming back, they were probably the most likely. And it
Hmm.
looked like that at times, actually. They set up very offensive. They were aggressive from the start, but everything went belly up when Bernardo got that red card. Did you see that incident?
Yeah, I saw the incident, and that is a penalty. If we're being honest, I it's weird when you see some things happen in football, especially today, when they have the VARs and everything, and you see he still does that, right? Like your hands are already held together, so you're trying to avoid a penalty, but you still move your hand towards the direction of the ball
Emotion, yeah.
while you're literally
You
on
made
the
yourself bigger.
post. Yeah, while you're
Yeah.
literally on the post. So it's like everything you're trying to avoid, you push yourself to do it. So I just didn't understand his decision making there. But I think Man City were definitely the better team, and it would have been interesting to see how they would have fared with 11 men on the pitch, right? Because if you even look at it, they even still missed some chances and all that. But with a man down against Real Madrid, who came in here with a lot of confidence, especially after the first leg, I think that was now a tall order for them to get through. The minute that red card happened, I was like, yeah, this game is done. Like,
I think we all felt that initially.
the
I would
game
have
is
loved
done.
to see 11-11, but once that red card
Yeah,
happened, you could tell that, it was done. I
Yeah.
mean, City played with a lot of pride. They wanted to try and make it uncomfortable, but I
Hmm.
mean, you have a team as seasoned and experienced as Real Madrid. All they had to do was sit down there
Yeah.
and find the gaps, and they managed the game really well. So credit to Real Madrid. I don't think too many people give them a lot of chances in this game or in this fixture, and
Yeah.
they did well. 5-1. They won 2-1 on the night to get a 5-1 aggregate win over Real Madrid. Over City. That was the third time in a row that they've knocked out Pep Guardiola and Man City of the Champions League. So really interesting scheduling quirk there. But
See
I
you
thought
guys
it
again
was
next year.
inshallah.
Exactly.
But I mean, that depends on if Pep is still there. So that was going to be my next question. I thought it was really interesting. The post-match comment, the post-match, presser. People were actually questioning Pep. Like
Hmm.
if you only ended up winning one Champions League for City, would that be considered a success? Which I thought was kind of
That's
crazy.
a
But
ridiculous question, man.
how do you
Yeah.
look at Pep's time at City? And I guess the conversation is if all he won was one Champions League as opposed to more, would that be looked at as, some sort of failure?
Yeah, I think people still look at the Champions League as the best team should always win their competition. And I've never agreed with that narrative. I've always said that the best teams never really win cup competitions. You just have to
Mm-hmm.
be the better team on the day. Especially when it comes to the Champions League, it's all about moments. That's one thing that has to do with the Champions League. Any team that take their moments, they usually are the ones that know how to win that competition. Um, my team hasn't had the privilege to win it, right? But the Champions League is the greatest competition in club football where you're literally having the elite in Europe literally come together to fight for that one championship, right? When you look at a manager like Pep, yes, Pep has his faults, especially in the last 2 years, and he deserves a lot of credit, especially with his lineups and all. But I don't think you can come out and question him because he's won one Champions League. How long has he been here? He's been here, what,
Uh,
10? Nine
Almost
to
10
10
years,
years?
yeah.
Nine
Right.
to 10 years. He's had to rebuild that team 2 to 3 times and he has won a Champions League, right? Especially for a club that's never won the Champions League before. So that definitely deserves some accolades towards him. When you look at the
Mm-hmm.
likes of
Keep going.
Feggy, Feggy won what, two or three? I think he won two or
Fake 1-2.
three.
Was 2-3,
Yeah, he
yeah.
won
Well,
two,
see, I'm doing it too.
and
I'm saying close to.
he did that in how many years? Who was the other person? Ancelotti won with, I think he won two with Real Madrid and two with AC Milan, right? If I'm correct. Yeah, I can't remember. So, I mean, the Champions League is not as easy as most people think it is. Like, just because you're the best team or you look like the best team in the world doesn't mean you just win it every year, right? I guess Real Madrid is the one team that seems to always make people feel otherwise. But Pep deserves his credit, man. When you come to a league like the Premier League and 9, 10 years, he has what, 6, 7 titles, like 4, 5 Carabao Cup, maybe 2 or 3 FA Cups, and definitely has won the Champions League for a team who has never won it before. Yeah, yeah. I'm definitely not going to be in the camp of people that's going to be questioning him and all. You can question his tactics and what he's done lately in the last year, but in terms of accomplishments, I'm sorry, like you can't do that, man.
I think the really interesting thing with Pep and City is it's also a testament to his greatness, right?
Yeah.
And the success that he's had that we almost forget that City were a non-entity in terms of, you know, football. And he has
Yes.
brought them to this point in just under a decade, right? Where
Mhm.
we're now having conversations about City saying is one enough?
Yeah.
Is one Champions League enough? But yeah, I
Yeah.
don't think, especially coming from me as an Arsenal fan, I'll take I'll take the success that they've had for sure,
Mhm.
right? And if that comes with only one Champions League, then so be it, right? So I
Yeah.
don't think that those are fair conversations. I think it is fair, right, in the sense that you can question some of his decision making as it comes to the higher stake games, right? Like how we approached the Chelsea final that they lost, and even some of the semifinals that they lost as well. But I mean, at the end of the day, when you put him on on the scale of people who have won Champions Leagues. What is that? Third? He has three Champions
He
Leagues.
has 3-2 with Baka. Yeah,
Yeah, so there's not too many ahead of him in
yeah.
terms of him as a coach or as a
As a coach
manager,
himself, yeah.
at that level. So I don't think that you can really question his legacy at this point.
Well, I won't be part of them.
Yeah, me neither. What other games? Obviously, we've got to talk about, the home squad, Arsenal. We welcome Leverkusen to the Emirates and took our time, wore them down and just hit them with
Yeah,
the knockout blow. I think it's one of those games that as an Arsenal fan, you always felt comfortable even going into the
comfortable.
game. You just kind of
Yeah,
knew that it's a matter of when, not
yeah,
if, right? And
yeah.
that's kind of how the game played out. We were comfortable. I don't think there's any point where it looked like we're under threat. And then what was it, 35th minute or so?
Yeah, around that.
EZE hit that goal that we have heard around the world. Now that shot was powerful,
He
man.
knows
You
how to
heard it from
strike
the
a ball.
living. Does he
He
now?
knows, yeah,
Oh
he
my
knows how to
god.
strike a ball. Yeah,
It hit that, well, yeah, yeah, it struck it real
yeah,
hard. Yeah.
yeah.
But yeah,
Nah,
what's there to talk about? Yeah, if you want to kind of give your
yeah. There's
thoughts
not much to
on.
talk about. To be honest, it was a very good game. It was a very comfortable game. I think there's one of the best performances we definitely have in our last 5, 6 to maybe even 10 games. We were literally very, very good. It was funny that I looked at the entire team's performance and I thought Saka was actually our worst player, but not worst player in terms of he didn't have a good game, but just in terms of ratings. When I watched it again, he was actually good. Man, their goalkeeper had a very good game, and I've noticed a lot of people actually didn't talk about that. Their goalkeeper had a very, very good
Save
game,
after save, man.
especially in the first half. Yeah, but the
Yeah.
team played really well. The other thing I noticed was the connection between Gyökeres and Eze, and that was very good too. It was good to see Gyökeres. I'm beginning to see Gyökeres adapt to the different players he has around him. I've seen that in the last 2 to 3 games. Because if you remember before, I used to say I don't like seeing him with the likes of Noni and Martinelli at the same time. But I'm noticing that he's beginning to adjust his own game to the people that he has around him and not really the other way around, where he wants things to be served to him exactly how he likes it to be. And I think that was a good thing to see. He was very good in this game. Eze was extremely good. I think there are two players that a lot of people don't talk. Actually, Saliba was very, very good in this game. Subimendi as well. Literally the whole team, but there are two players that
Yeah.
I think people haven't spoken about a lot this season. Hincapié and David Raya.
Oof.
Hincapié is a warrior. Like literally, I've noticed every time I watch our games back, he's literally in the top 3 best performing guys in the team in a lot of the games I've watched in our last 5, 6 games minimum. And that boy is just 23. Like he's literally a warrior. And then that brings me to David Raya. That guy has won us a lot of games this season, and people haven't spoken about it enough, right? Because there are games where he makes a save. I remember there was one he did against Brighton in the Premier League. I don't know if you remember. We were in Lagos when we watched that game together when he made that diving save from one of the Brighton players. He's done those saves about 2, 3 times this season. He's won us a lot of games. He's made sure we've not lost a lot of games, almost taking a game we were likely to lose to a draw and a games we were likely to draw to a win. He's been extremely very, very good this season. And it just sometimes takes me back to when we signed him and everyone questioned Mikel and said, why are you signing him when we have Ramsdale? I'm telling you, that has to be one of Mikel's best ever signing that he's made in his time in Arsenal, because David Raya was never one of those goalkeepers that people spoke about highly in the league. Maybe a few did, I don't know. But he was never one of those highly rated goalkeepers in the league. He was playing for Brentford, right? He comes to Arsenal. He's been here. This is his 3rd season. He's won 2 Golden Gloves back to back, and on course of winning the 3rd one back to back to back. The highest winning Golden Glove has 4. This guy already has 3 in 3 years for Arsenal. And a lot of people will come out and say our defense or the clean sheets we've had is because of the defense. I'm sorry, man. David Raya plays a massive part in what we've been able to achieve this season. And when we make it, hopefully, to that finish line, he's one of those guys that would definitely need his flowers for sure.
Speaking of his flowers, I want to ask you, I want to put you on the spot. I'm sure you've seen a lot of the conversation from other fans and other clubs sticking up for their player. But where
Mhm.
does Raya rank for you as far as candidate for player of the year?
Because I mean, based on just the Arsenal players alone, man, he's up there. I think Declan Rice is number one for me because I think he's the most consistent player we've had this season, just in terms of his performances. Like, I don't think he's giving us below his 7 this season, right? Gabriel and Saliba is another duo that people don't talk about. I know a lot of us will talk about Gabriel because of the goals that he scored, but Saliba has been very good this season. People also forget the moments when Gabriel was injured and we had to keep switching whoever was going to partner Saliba, and Saliba steered that ship perfectly well. So I think for me, I think I'll have David Raya second or third because he's won us big points so far this season. And I employ anybody to go look at a lot of games or maybe go look at compilations of the saves he's done this season, not just in the Premier League, also in the Champions League. And I'm telling you, man, we're where we are also because of David Raya. So I definitely have him up there. I didn't even have that thought before. For me, it was more of like Declan Rice, Gabriel, and like I said, David Raya. But when you actually look at it, Saliba needs to be put on that list. He's been very, very good this season. So has David Raya.
Cool. I don't know who else. I don't think there's any point talking about Spurs. They did win, so credit. Did they win?
Yeah, they did. I
They
think
won. Yeah,
3-2. Yeah.
so they fought back and got a decent result, which I think will be very useful for them at the rest of the relegation battle in England. So credit to them. Liverpool, they just tore Galatasaray apart and made it through to the next round. So congrats to them. Maybe the last team we'll talk about in terms of the Champions League will be Newcastle and Barcelona. That
Oof.
was crazy. That escalated real quick.
So quick. Like literally.
That
Like,
escalated
man.
quick,
I
you
was
know.
It was one of those games I was really looking forward to be honest, because I thought
Same.
Newcastle had a great shot. And if you watch the game, they actually started well. I wasn't a fan of the lineup, especially when I saw Elanga starting. But again, I gotta put my hands up. Elanga, I think my problem with him is in the final third, he makes ridiculous decisions. But in this game, he
Hmm.
was very clinical and he made the right decisions. And I think the game just went away from them after Trippier literally brought down, I can't remember if it was Rafinha or someone, and gave that penalty just before the dying minutes. Like we literally said the Camp Nou was going to be a difficult place for Newcastle. Because if you look at Newcastle a lot, they kind of defend the way Barcelona does. Like the goals that they concede are very easy. I remember the set piece goal that they also conceded. I think it was from Lewandowski. I can't remember if it was Lewandowski or if it was Fermin. I was like, how do you concede that type of set piece, especially for a Premier League team that is very physical
Right.
and stuff like that? But then again, Barcelona showed their quality, especially at home,
Oof.
right? This is one of the reasons why the second leg literally is a big advantage to those teams. Like they literally showed their level. You went at home, you went away, you drew 1-1, you bring them home and you put 7 past them. That's ridiculous. Like literally, that's ridiculous. And it just goes back to when you look at a lot of the Premier League teams this season, conceding what, four or five and above, except for Liverpool and Arsenal. Yeah, I felt bad for Newcastle, but yeah, when you watch that game, you can't. I don't think there's any case you can make for Newcastle in terms of making it past Barcelona in that round. Barcelona were extremely good.
Two things I wanted to touch on. You just touched on all the goals that English teams conceded. I think qualifying for the knockout rounds, everybody was making this case for how England is, head and shoulders above the rest of Europe because they had
Hmm.
six candidates or six teams in
Yeah,
the knockout stages. And we've
yeah,
seen four of them go out since then, only two progressing through to the next round in Arsenal and Liverpool. And it's
yeah,
not just that they went out, it's the manner that they went out, right? So
yeah. I think that's a
M-
problem.
Man City 5-1 on aggregate, Chelsea 8-2 on aggregate, Spurs, what is it, 7-3 or whatever it was. Um,
Yeah,
same thing with
Newcastle.
Newcastle.
Yeah.
That brings the question back, right? Like, are the were people right to say that England was head and shoulders above the rest of Europe, or is this kind of like bringing everybody back down to earth?
Um, I wouldn't say bring it down to earth because I think everyone is forgetting important aspect when it comes to these teams, right? Premier League teams are involved in 4 competitions. The rest of Europe, majority of them, if not all of them, are involved in 3 competitions, right? That's including their own domestic cups. This is one of those seasons where the Premier League, none of us had a winter break. Remember, I said it a few minutes ago that we've literally been playing every 3 days for since end of November. And if you look at the teams that have been in the Champions League, a lot of them have had this type of schedule. Arsenal, Man City, Chelsea, Newcastle have been 4 of those teams out of the 6 that has played a lot of games. Don't forget Newcastle made it up onto the semi-final of the Carabao Cup, right? Same thing with Chelsea. They've played the FA Cups. Everybody played the FA Cup. So we've literally been playing every 3 days. And you look at the other guys, they all had like a 2 week break during the January time where they're able to rejuvenate. They're able to get a lot of players back who have been injured,
Mhm.
right? And then again, you add to it is we have a very physical league, right? We have a very physical league. So to play those type of games every 3 days and then you're finding yourself all the way to Europe and whatnot. Like, for example, look at PSG. When PSG was drawn against Chelsea, they had a game against, was it not Lens? In between the game for Chelsea's home and away. And the French Federation literally cancelled that, not cancelled the game. They literally took that
They
game off the
postponed it.
calendar to reschedule it for some other time, right? Do you know that right now they are drawn against Liverpool and they are already thinking of taking the game in between both legs for PSG again. So this is something that you're seeing a lot of the other federations doing for their teams. I wish the Premier League would do it or the FA would do it for the English teams. But then again, you also have to know that it's very difficult, right? For the fact that we're playing in 4 competitions. If you look at the English calendar, for example, where are you going
It's
to push those
packed.
games? Man City and
Crystal
Crystal
Palace.
Palace, they haven't still been able to find somewhere in their calendar to play the game which they were meant to play this weekend because the players, luckily for us, I think we got like a week off somewhere. That was how we got to play Wolves, right? So now that Man City is out of the Champions League, you'll be like, okay, there might be somewhere in the calendar, but guess what? Crystal Palace went through today in Europe. So now they still don't know where that game is going to go to, right? And we still have the FA Cup that pulls up in the weekend. For the teams who are still in the FA Cup, those games we were meant to play that weekend in the Premier League, those games are going to be rearranged again. So when you look into those contexts, I think the Premier League is still like, yeah, like levels above those teams. And I think the league table of the Champions League showed you that as well. Like if you're having 8 teams to qualify automatically and we were able to get 5 out of the 8 qualify automatically, but out of 16, we had 6 that went through, right? So at the end of the day, it's testament to how good the league is. I'm not going to change it now just because of those results. Yeah, those results were embarrassing. I was one of those people to come out and say that
It
England
was
definitely
bad,
did.
my guy.
Yeah, it was actually very bad, right? But we also have to know these things. Like these other guys are getting 2 weeks off. Like imagine Arsenal getting 2 weeks off right now.
Right.
Like, our boys would be in Dubai trying to get a little bit of break, and you don't know. Like, think
Oof.
about it. The time we came back with our set piece shenanigans and all, it came from a winter break when we went to Dubai and just went to go rejuvenate and stuff like that. So, yeah, I think there's a lot of context people also have to consider to that.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I'll leave it there. The other thing I was going to bring up is a very weird quirk that I found out. So because Tottenham finished fourth and Atletico finished in the qualifying rounds of the playoffs, they assume Tottenham's home
Yeah, you
advantage
still the home
apparently.
advantage. Yeah, yeah,
That is
that's part of
crazy.
the
So
Champions League.
Barcelona
That's a good thing about
will
it.
that is crazy. I
Yeah,
don't know how I feel
that's
about it yet.
I like it because the reason I like it again, like I said, is like you as a lower team, you're playing someone that finished higher in the table, right? And one of those advantages was them getting that home court advantage. But if
Mhm.
myself, who was lower, way lower than you, I'm able to beat you in a 2 leg tie, I literally have stolen your advantage. Like I have the powers that you have now. So I think that's where they were coming from when they did that. So that is why Barcelona now will be playing the first leg at Camp Nou and going to. It's the same thing like if Sporting should beat us in the second leg, they're getting their second tie at home all the way to the final if they make it to that. Yeah.
That is
Yeah,
crazy, man.
yeah.
Like, I don't know how I feel
I like
about
it.
it for,
I kind of like it.
yeah.
Yes, I can understand where you're coming from because it's like, yeah, they finished, but I think that's part of the challenge that they had to face, right? Like you're going
Hmm.
to face a team that was much higher than you, that finished way higher than you, and I was able to beat
Yeah,
you.
but it's
So
also
I
not
take your advantage
rewarding.
as well.
It's not rewarding the group stage, right? So, for example, if your team finished third and you
Yeah,
get to go and meet, like, okay, so I don't know how, I can't remember how it all,
yeah,
ranked, but let's say you finish third,
hmm,
and in the case of Spurs, or you finish fifth. In the case of Spurs, they finish fourth. You beat
yeah,
Spurs, you no longer have an advantage because some team that finished 14th or whatever beat Spurs.
yeah.
And then you that you did all your work early to finish fifth, you no longer have
But
a home advantage.
if you look at that table, Barcelona finished lower than Spurs.
No, I get that. That's why
Exactly.
I'm using the example, right?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, Barcelona finished higher than Atletico.
Yeah, they did. So that's why I said beating Spurs is literally much challenging in terms of the table, right? Just using the
Right.
table itself, not looking at the teams. But beating Spurs was meant to be more challenging. So literally that's why they took their advantage and they get to now be the team that we play the second leg at home. I remember when I read the rules, I was like, you know what? That's also another incentive, right? For them to do it. Because remember before, it wasn't like that last season, right?
Hmm.
And I know even in the new rule, I think those that finish, I think it was only first and second that were literally assured second leg at home all the way to the finals. Then I think third, fourth, I think were assured up onto the quarterfinals or
Hmm.
semifinals, one of them. Yeah. So yeah. So if you actually look at the bracket, they literally like put all those things in those. That's why when people were talking
Yeah.
about the draw, who do you want to play and stuff like that, I was like, I really wanted to play Atalanta, but I knew where most likely Atalanta were going to end up, and I'm like, nah, bro, I want to be on the other side. So if it's Leverkusen, I rather be with Leverkusen, man. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough. Let's switch our attention to this weekend. Big, 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 big game coming up this weekend, and that's all we're going to talk about.
Yeah.
The Carabao Cup final. Just to wrap things up here, we are going back to Wembley, and we're going to be facing Manchester City. So it's Arsenal versus Manchester City in Wembley for the Carabao Cup final. It's the first final in, I think, 6 years for Arsenal since the last one, the FA Cup.
Yeah. 2020.
How are you feeling, man? How are you feeling about that game?
I'm feeling good to be honest, right? Like, I think the team has given us a lot of confidence in the last few weeks. I think the last bad result we had was against Wolves, so I don't see any reason for myself to not be confident going into the game. But I think we also have to be very careful. Man City are a wounded animal right now, whether we like it or not, right? Losing to Real Madrid, that's a team they've built some type of rivalry in Europe with, and they lost their last two Premier League games as well. They found draws. So I think the only win you can think about was their win against Newcastle, if I remember, at the FA Cup. So that's also a wounded animal. And you're playing in neutral ground against Pep Guardiola, who is one of, if not the most competitive coach out there when it comes to these things. I think he's had what 6 or 5 Carabao Cup finals, and I think he's won each and every one of them, right? So, but I'm confident. I think the team are the ones that have they've given us that confidence in their performances. I'm liking for the fact the likes of Eucharist, EZE are getting into their groove, right? Like I said, when you watch EZE lately, he looks like someone who's tuned in, and I've been of the opinion that I think we're going to see the best of Izzy anytime from like March or towards the end because he's still adjusting, right? A lot of people don't understand. Like Izzy was literally thrown into the deep end. When you come into a team from Crystal Palace to Arsenal who are fighting for the league, there's little to no room for error compared to when you go into another team. You're going to have the time to blend in, figure out yourself, your comforts, and everything. So I'm confident, to be honest. I'm really confident, but I know just right before kickoff you're gonna feel a little bit of those nerves. But then again, I think we've witnessed that with every game this season, especially with the situation we found ourselves. Every game you're confident,
Every
and then
game is like a
once
final now, man.
exactly once the whistle comes up, is literally a final, right? So I would say another reason why I'm confident is I think the players are hungry. I think I've seen it in them this season. They're very hungry. They're going against a team that is very experienced, also very experienced manager, one of, if not the best manager in the world right now. They have the experience, they have the consistency. But I think we also need to know that our hunger also counts for something. It's funny, I've never been someone who's crazy about the Carabao Cup. I just never have right from time. I think as a winger didn't help in those situations because growing up watching Arsenal at that time, a lot of those games were where he used to bring in the academy players and stuff.
Yeah, all the
But
kids.
for me, yeah, for me, this game is just different just because of the opponent and the manager. It literally is different for me because of the opponent and the manager, because it's almost like we know the whole teacher and student situation and Man City and Arsenal rivalry that has been building up a little bit for the last 3, 4 years. And now we found ourselves now where we're both battling for the first trophy of the season. Just for that fact is why I really want us to win this game.
Yeah, I feel the same way too. I'm with you on the never caring about Carabo. Like, I don't think it's one of those ones that would ultimately define where this
Define.
team lands this season. But again,
Yeah.
like you said, we're going against, I think it could be a changing of the guard kind of moment, right? If we go
Hmm.
ahead to win, because, you've uh, 2 of the 3 seasons that you've been denied a Premier League title has come at the hands of
From
this
this
man,
team. Yeah.
right? So this is a chance to kind of show that, there's a maturity in there. There is a hunger and desire to kind of, go get it. And also that you can put yourself apart. Remember, we haven't lost to them in, what is it, 5 or 6 games now
Five or
that we've
six.
played.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so now this is where it really, really matters. So it'll be interesting to see how we match up against them. They are the
Mm,
ones that could really get in between us and the aspirations this season. They're the
mhm.
closest rivals in the Premier League. Depending on how things pan out in the FA Cup, they could be the ones to stop us from winning the FA Cup as well. So you want to really show that you can go and do it. So I think there is understandably going to be nerves. I think before the whistle goes up, you're definitely going to be a
Yeah.
lot of nerves from an Arsenal perspective, and even
Yeah.
when the whistle goes to kick things off. But I think once you kind of see the teams settling into familiar patterns, it becomes like, okay, let's play a
Yeah.
game of football. And
Yeah.
I expect us to go and win. I want us to go and win. I really want this to be a moment where, we kind of lay down a mark. But
Mhm.
I also don't buy into the discussions that whoever wins this gets to, like, basically take something away and the other team doesn't have a chance of winning the league anymore.
No.
Um,
No.
so, but
Yeah,
yeah, looking
definitely.
forward to it.
Yeah,
Looking
I'm looking
forward to it.
forward to
Can't
it
wait.
for sure, man. I think it's gonna be definitely a good one. This, if you think about it, this is the first shot that this team that Mikel has assembled has had
Right.
at something, right? And like you
That is
said,
true.
I've never been of the opinion that whatever happens in this game dictates how the league is going to go. Luckily for us, we've been able to create a little bit of gap. So I think those kind of narratives will not be there for the players to think of, oh, how whatever way this result go, does this give them that belief or anything? But I think it's just an opportunity for these guys to just come together and just win something for themselves. Like I said, I like the fact that it's against this very team. That's the reason I really do want to win it for them and just to take them more forward, right? I was gonna ask a question. What would be your lineup for this final?
The strongest possible, my guy. The
Yeah.
strongest possible. I think after this is international break, right?
Yes, that's the other thing I was going to add. That was another reason I want us to win it because I think they
Yeah.
can win it, go away, and just enjoy those moments instead of like
Right.
playing games, and it gives them a little bit of a push towards the end. Yeah,
Right. Come back a little bit refreshed,
yeah,
mentally just take a break from
yeah,
the constant grind of competition. But yeah, in terms of your question, I'm going with the strongest team possible, especially strongest and fittest. I don't know
yeah,
what the injury situation is, who's available for what. I think I would not be surprised to see, obviously, the back four of
hmm,
White, Saliba, Gabriel, and I won't be surprised to see Calafiori in this game. I don't know why.
I think
I
he
don't know
can
why.
piss that.
I won't be surprised to see Calafiori play. The real conundrum is really in the goalkeeping situation.
Yeah,
Kepa has played the entire Carabao Cup run up
hmm,
until now.
Yeah.
But I think you have to put Raya in. If Raya is available, congrats to him and his partner. They just had a baby. If it's available, I think he plays. Right? I wouldn't be sentimental about these things. Midfield, you would definitely see Subimendi. You would definitely see Rice. I think nobody's sure of the fitness levels of Odegaard. I know there's reports that
I think he'll be in this game.
it's trying
Yeah.
to get available. I don't think he'll be fit enough to start, so that means
No.
another game for Eze.
Just the way I
I
like
think
it. Come off the bench for
yes,
control. Yeah. I think he'll
yeah,
be in the squad. Yeah.
yeah. So like I said, but one thing I might not be surprised to see is Havertz starting the game
Yes. I actually can
as a
see that
striker.
happening. Yes.
Yeah,
I can see that happening. Yes.
I
Yeah.
won't be surprised to see Havertz starting the game as a striker.
Well, for me, I'll definitely go with the same team that started the Leverkusen game, actually. Trossard, Gyökeres, Saka, Eze, Zubimendi, Rice, the back four. But I'm definitely going to go with Kepa. I understand, like, yes, the best goalkeeper win. But the reason I'll go with Kepa is that he's literally the one who's brought us here, right? We we played, if I remember, Brighton, Crystal Palace, Port Vale, Chelsea, up onto the final. And Kepa has been part of that. He hasn't had any of those bad games. I remember the penalty shootout against Crystal Palace in the quarterfinal, I think. He was literally the one that literally pushed us through to the next round, right? In the cup competition, I don't think I can come out and say he's had a bad game. And I have loved how Mikel has made the entire squad feel part of what it is we're
Involved, yeah,
doing and what we're
right,
trying to do, right? And for those reasons, I think that is how you also make them feel involved and feel that importance of
right.
whatever it is we're trying to achieve this season. So for those reasons is why I would still stick with Kepa for like the Carling Cup, and by God's grace we'll make it to the FA Cup final. That is the main reason I would do that. The Champions League and the Premier League is always going to be Raya for me. So those are
Wouldn't
my
surprise
reasons. Yeah.
me. Wouldn't
Yeah.
surprise me. And actually, I
Yeah.
agree with that.
Yeah.
You know, it wouldn't surprise me to see Kepa play. My
Yeah.
preferences would be Raya, obviously, but
Yeah.
whether it's Kepa or Raya, I think obviously they will have our support, and you
Mm-hmm.
know, we'll hopefully go on to win the game.
Yeah.
I think
Predictions.
that's all we have for today. I don't care, man. Like it's not a league game.
That's
Like,
what okay.
I don't care, man. Like shootouts, penalty, whatever. Like
Uh,
I just want to see the team win
yeah.
at the end of regulation or at the end of the game or whatever you want to call it. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, if you want me to go out on a limb, 4-0 or something would be
Whoa.
fantastic. uh,
Slow down, buddy.
if you want me to go out on a limb, I'll go for
Man,
like no.
you're giving your best Olu impressions right now, man.
Do you understand? Like, if you want me to be bullish, right? Like, because I'm telling you, truthfully, I don't care how we win if it's a
Yes.
gutsy 1-0 win. But I
Mm-hmm.
think the reason I'm obviously joking around with the 4-0 thing, but I also would like to see a big marker, like a
Yeah.
big look. You know, we're not. I mean, we've made that statement a while ago that we're not the little
Mm-hmm.
bros anymore when it comes to City and Arsenal. But more so, it hasn't mattered in like a
And yeah.
title winning or trophy winning situation. We haven't
Yeah.
lost to them. We beat them 5-1 in one of the recent games or whatever.
Mm.
But it hasn't mattered in
Well, man, these
like
guys have
winning
cost
something.
us what? Two
Yes.
titles, one Carabao Cup. Actually, it might even be two Carabao Cups if I'm correct, or one FA Cup.
So I
Like I
want.
remember vividly. Now that's why I said just for the fact that it's this team and this manager. That's literally why
So
I'm
that's
going
where
with
my
it.
4-0 is coming from, my guy.
Yeah,
Like, you know,
yeah, that's
something that
harsh.
would be like, yeah, you deserve that. You deserve that.
Yeah,
You take that.
yeah, definitely.
But yeah, that's all I got for today, man. I don't know if I think we covered everything. So
Yeah, I think we did. Yeah.
yeah. So I'll leave it to you to bring us home as usual. You know
Yeah,
what I'm
man.
saying?
So just a usual shout out to our subscribers, our listeners and everything. Like just hope we keep giving you guys the content and things that you guys want to hear. We try to be as objective as we can. When it comes to Arsenal, I'm not going to promise you that one. But with every other person, with every person, I'm going to do my best to do that. But thank you guys for listening. Hope you guys like, subscribe, just do whatever it takes to like, share and just push us out to like other viewers. We definitely do appreciate that. And looking forward to speaking to you guys next week, man. Love.
Sounds good, man. Say less. I think we'll close it out there. Thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of your week. I'm sure we'll be in touch, and we'll talk
You
Sunday.
too, brother. Yeah.
Yeah.